Hey, Kyle's Wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's AEW Dynamite from August 10th, 2022, the Quake by the Lake event live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, whereas the hometown of Top Flight. And we did find out that Dante Martin, the hometown hero, will be able to appear on Rampage, so that's good news. What it looks like a stacked show just on paper, as usual, like every AEW show seems to be. But this one looks a little bit more stacked, with the main event being Jon Moxley defending the AEW Interim World Title against the Lionheart, the returning Lionheart, the last um, survivor of the Hart Dungeon from Stu Hart, Chris Jericho, with the potential of a CM Punk returning after that match. I always thought that as soon as they announced Jon Moxley was going to take on Jericho. Instead, I figured if Punk wasn't able to return, it would have just been Moxley versus Jericho at All Out. There was still a potential. Maybe some people were thinking that Jericho could win the title, and that would just set up Moxley Jericho at All Out rematch. So we'll find out what happens here. Don't forget, All Out is in Chicago, so CM Punk's been working hard to try and be able to return, but you never know with injuries. We also have a potential for another huge return tonight after Hangman Page helped the Young Bucks last week, and after Adam Cole and Red Dragon attacked the Bucks. Hangman came out and saved them. They didn't say anything that time, but with the Trios Tag Tournament about to start, I could definitely see this as a perfect time for Kenny Omega to also return from injury. So with the potential of maybe one or two of the biggest stars the company has returning, there's a ton of buzz going into this Quake by the Lake event. Along with the world title match, we've also got Jade Cargill putting her undefeated streak and TBS title on the line against new head coach somehow of the women's division, Madison Rayne. Along with the title matches, we've got 3 grudge matches also scheduled for tonight, with former tag partners Aaron Solo and Ricky Starks having a match. Darby Allin will try to take out Brody King in a coffin match, and the Lucha Brothers look for revenge against Los Faccion Ingobernables, which is Andrade El Idolo and Rush, who team for the first time in 7 years. Also announced for the stack show is the return of the ROH, AAA, and IWGP Tag Team Champions, FTR. So wow, and was I excited for this show to start. Let's just get right into it. We got a lot to talk about. This week's episode of Dynamite starts with Jim Ross welcoming us. He'll be on commentary with Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Taz, although maybe Tony Schiavone wasn't there the entire time. Brody King now is the first person out, and we're gonna start tonight's match with the coffin, or tonight's event with the coffin match. Brody King versus Darby Allin. So Brody King makes his great entrance with his cool song and stuff, but out of nowhere, before the entrance was even over with, Darby Allin runs out and attacks Brody King from behind. Darby Allin has a skateboard with thumbtacks on the bottom, and he attacks Brody King with this. Already a minute or two into the event here tonight, Brody King is already busted open, and there's tacks in his back. Outside of the ring now, Brody takes Darby down and breaks the skateboard in half by stomping on it. Now back in the ring, Darby hits an avalanche code breaker off, or code red, I should say, avalanche code red off the top rope. Darby getting the big jump on Brody King, who when they had a match, Brody King basically dominated it. So Darby came out with the sneak attack. He had the thumb loaded skateboard, now hits an avalanche code breaker, or code red. I'm sorry, I wrote down code breaker. But outside of the ring now, Brody takes control with a chair, and I think Darby might have the red stuff coming out as well. I'm not even sure, but Brody is gushing, so it might be his. Brody now throws Darby hard into the barricade, flipping Darby over it. Brody now goes to the crowd to get Darby back in, as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break now. So holy crap, we started this Quake by the Lake event with a bang. We've already got the red stuff flowing. Brody now hits a massive senton on the outside of the ring, crushing Darby. Brody sets up a table as a 15-year-old girl in the crowd just goes absolutely berserk and is loving this match. Good for her. You like to see it. So now we come back from the ad break, and Brody is setting Darby on a table. Brody tries to splash from the ring to the outside, but Darby moves. Brody just absolutely demolishes the table into a million pieces. Darby now back in the ring, but the lights go out, and when they come on, we see Buddy Matthews return from injury. Nice. He stares down Darby, but Julia Hart trips Darby from behind when he tries to do a running move, and now we see Malachi Black is here as well. So I'm thinking, where's Sting? Where's Miro at this point? They quadruple team Darby here, sending him through a table without anyone coming to help. But when Buddy Matthews goes to open the coffin, Sting is inside. And wow, Sting, if you remember last time we saw him, got the black mist of Malachi spit in his face, and Sting now has on his face paint a little bit of black around the eye, something we haven't seen on everybody, but when we did see it, it was Julia Hart who eventually joined the House of Black. So this is definitely something to keep an eye on. No pun intended whatsoever, I swear. So anyway, will Sting join the House of Black? Maybe Wolfpack Sting will come out, or he'll have even cooler face paint. Who knows? But that could be all. I kind of want that to happen. What more can we do with the Sting and Darby Allin pairing? You know, we've kind of seen them do everything they could possibly do. So having Sting, if he wants to stick around, join the House of Black, really sounds like a great idea to me. He can still mentor some younger people as far as Brody King and Buddy Matthews and even Julia Hart. So not to say Malachi Black's old, but he's kind of the complete package right now, which we did hear some news that Malachi Black was suffering with a lot of back injuries over the last year where he almost retired from the business. But 3 months ago, they finally had a breakthrough, and Malachi Black has alleviated his back pain that almost caused him to retire. So that's good news. But yeah, if Sting joins the House of Black, that sounds awesome to me. So anyway, this match isn't even over yet. Sting comes out of the coffin when Buddy Matthews opens it, and like I said, he has the black around his eye, so that's pretty crazy. Sting hands has here tells he hands the bat to Malachi Black and tells him to hit Sting from behind, but Malachi Black does not do it. Another tease here that maybe Sting will join the House of Black. Anyway, Sting chases after him now, and Darby dives out of nowhere to the outside on the Brody King. Darby wants to put him in the coffin here, but Brody has a lot of fight left. Darby now desperately fights not to get slammed off the apron here. Darby reaches over and gets the chain that Brody King usually comes out with during his entrance, and he uses this chain around the neck of Brody, hanging Brody over the edge of the apron, just like how Brody eliminated Darby by hanging him over the edge with a sleeper hold or whatever it was. So that was pretty cool. And this sends basically knocks out Brody King, who Darby then kicks from the apron, hanging in the air there. And Brody King perfectly falls into the coffin, and it perfectly shuts on its own. They could probably try that 20 times, and it would only work maybe 2 or 3 times out of 20. So the end of this match was awesome, with Brody King getting knocked out basically the same way Darby got knocked out in the Royal Rampage. And then Brody just perfectly. Taz had one of the lines of the night saying Darby got a 3-point shot there that went in. So that was really cool. Great ending to this coffin match. It had a lot of great spots, and I really want Sting to join the House of Black. I would love that to happen because, like I said, Sting and Darby Allin, we've seen them pretty much do everything. What else can they do together? So if Sting's going to stick around, if he joins the House of Black, sign me up for that. That sounds pretty cool. I don't know, maybe he wouldn't even be wrestling much, but just the aesthetics and having him in the background, or maybe like Sting could accompany Julia Hart to her matches, because nobody accompanies Julia Hart to her Elevation matches every week. What the heck? So anyway, Buddy Matthews is also returned just in time for the Trios tournament, which we're not far away. We only a couple of segments away from getting the brackets revealed. But first, we get to hear from both competitors in the main event tonight. First, the interim champion, Jon Moxley, who says, well, we've got the FTW title here in AEW. Why don't we call this title because he meant like, oh, everyone's calling me the interim. So let's just call this the FYI for your information, I guess. I don't know, FYI belt. And then Moxley says it was forged in Cincinnati, just like Jericho was in Calgary. But this championship is about how much pain you can induce. And then we have watched the Last Heart Dungeon survivor Lionheart survive for decades, but this will test his fighting spirit. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't the fighting spirit doesn't break, then your body will. So after an ad break now, Chris Jericho has a response, and he says, Stu Hart was not some kind, lovable old man. He was a sadist. He hurt people. I never want to be in that kind of pain again. But tonight, Moxley, I will hurt you. I will stretch the hell out of you. The Lionheart Chris Jericho will be the next AEW World Champion. I guarantee it. So great stuff there from the two competitors who will be in the main event. Here's the big news I've been waiting weeks for now. Huge news as the trios tournament brackets are now revealed. And the first name I see as I read left to right, like someone from America would, and I see Death Triangle on the very top spot against Will Ospreay and the Aussie Open representing United Empire. Holy crap. Right now, that blew my mind, because right now Will Ospreay's deep in the heart of the G1, still with a chance to win G1 with the D block that still has a chance to be a 7-way tie at the end of D block. So Ospreay is going to be in G1 until August 18th. But apparently that's probably one of the later ones. So holy crap, Death Triangle versus Will Ospreay in Aussie Open. That's just the first matchup of the it's going to be an 8 trios team tournament. So that's the first match. The other one on that side of the bracket on the left is Andrade El Idolo, Rush, and Rush's brother Dragon Lee forming the team of Los Faccion Ingobernables. They'll take on the Young Bucks and a mystery partner. So we're to assume at this point it's either Hangman Page or the returning Kenny Omega. So holy crap, that's only one side of the bracket. On the right side, we've got House of Black, who we just saw had Buddy Matthews return, and they're going to take on Dark Order, who we've seen on BTE that Dark Order is going to enter a foursome into the trios. We'll have to figure out how that works out. But anyway, House of Black versus Dark Order, which is pretty cool. The House of Black is kind of the Dark Order that Brody Lee wanted to create, but now the Dark Order kind of changed into something else without rest in peace Brody Lee. But now the new House of Black, or the new version of the Dark Order, the darker one, is going to take them on in the first round. Then in the fourth and final first round match, the Trust Busters got formed just in time, and they will take on the Best Friends. So the Trust Busters is Trust Fund Ari Davari, now changing his name to Ari Davari. He just had his trust fund kick in on July 4th and has now bought out the contracts of 20-year veteran Slim J and formerly known as Harlan in NXT, Parker Boudreaux, who looks like a young Brock Lesnar, still very inexperienced, but Trust Busters looks to be the new mercenary faction in AEW. I know we still got the AFO floating around, even though Andrade himself has formed a different faction, but the AFO we see on also around. Basically the Trust Busters are like them, and they're deep in recruiting. So those are some great brackets. First round, I kind of wish maybe we had enough time to have a 16 team trios tournament. I think we could have put enough teams together, but 8 is fine. We've got a lot of surprises here, and next week it'll start with Los Faccion Ingobernables taking on Young Bucks and their mystery partner. So wow, this is going to be really good. So now, speaking of Los Faccion Ingobernables, Andrade El Idolo and Rush come out with Jose the Assistant, No Dragon Lee tonight. They have separate music than either of their singles or individual music, so this is for sure the LFI music right here. It was pretty good too. Can't wait to check that out on YouTube. Anyway, this match starts super fast as Lucha Brothers now come out, and it's going to be a mile a minute in this one. Tornado rules, you don't have to tag in. Lucha rules apply, and already within the first 20 seconds of this match, we've got 7 or 8 big moves already hit. Now Rush and Penta end up in the ring alone. Rush hits a running overhand chop that looked nasty, but Penta actually answers with an overhand chop that was even more nasty. Penta now knocks Rush out of the ring and wants to dive onto him, but he gets tripped from behind from Andrade. Meanwhile, Fenix dives to the outside on the both men in a row, one after another. That was pretty cool. So holy crap, Pentagon already hits Made in Japan here, and Rush is just barely able to kick out, but is in trouble already. Wow, this match is really fast pace to the beginning. Well, I mean, just pretty much throughout. We knew that was going to happen, but you know what I mean. Everybody's like almost losing already. So Fenix now on the top rope gets stopped, and all 4 in the ring, but LFI take control here. Andrade covers both men, and the referee counts with both hands, and they both kick out at 2. That was pretty interesting, showing us that you can do that kind of thing with the tornado-style lucha rules. So LFI now leap out to the ring onto the Lucha Brothers at the same time with a tope con hero as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. So wow, let's just take a freaking second to breathe real quick. I'm loving the variety we've got so far tonight. We started with a bloody hardcore brawl. Now we've got a lucha style high flying nonstop action match. Hopefully we can get some technical wrestling after this one so we can bring it back to the wrestling, but variety is good to have on a show. It's good to have a lot of different things. So Los Faccion and Ingobernables are dominating the entire ad break here using chairs and double teams. Lucha Brothers are in a bad way as we come back from ad break. Roosh hits a drop kick on Fenix, but Penta's able to counter a double team here, hitting a uh, Casanova, Casadora on Roosh. So Fenix is now back hitting a combo of moves and ending with a backstabber. Lucha Brothers then hit a double team Casadora splash, but Roosh is able to break up the pin. Rayne now hits a splash off the shoulders of his brother Penta. That only gets a 2 count as well. The Lucha Brothers now both hit stereo tope con heroes over the top rope at the same time, crashing in the LFI the same way we went to the ad break, but the other team doing it here. So that was cool. In the ring now, Fenix hits a frog splash off the top rope, only getting a 2 again. So LFI tried to hit a double team on Fenix here, but Fenix is able to block it just long enough for Penta to come help him. Roosh then counters a diving Fenix with a massive looking spine buster, but Penta rolls in to take out Roosh right after that. All 4 men are now down. The referee starts a 10 count. Penta and Andrade are back up. They end up on the apron, and holy crap, Andrade gets destroyed with a Canadian destroyer from Penta on the apron. Penta's now looking to do the same to Roosh, or maybe a double team version with Fenix, who's there as well. But Andrade breaks this attack up, and now Roosh tries to take the mask off of Penta like they've been doing. And wow, instead there's they tie the mask, how it has like things on the back of it. They tie that tight to the bottom rope, and now they start beating up double teams on Rey Fenix in front of his brother Pentagon Obscuro, who has to make a decision here. Does he take his own mask off to save his brother from this 2-on-1 beatdown that he wasn't going to come back from, or does he leave the mask on and just watch it, or does he take it off? That's what I should have said. So anyway, Penta does take his mask off. Is he going to have to lose it forever? But then again, Rey Mysterio took his mask off and put it back on. But here, right here and there tonight, Quake by the Lake, Penta Obscuro took his mask off voluntarily. I wonder if he won't be able to put it back on. That's something to keep an eye on. Anyway, the fans now chant, "Throw it back." I think the mask somehow ended up in the crowd, which is weird. Hopefully somebody, you might see that on eBay. They might have ran right out of the arena. So Penta then gets taken out as he's covering his face. He wasn't able to really do much. He was able to stop the pin or whatever. I don't know. It didn't seem like it might have been worth it. It wasn't a title match. I get it was a big time grudge match. You didn't want to lose, but taking your own mask off, if it's that important, if he isn't able to put it back on just to break up a pin in a non-title match, and then you weren't able to do anything after that anyway because you're covering your face, it just kind of it's lost on me. Maybe it's because I'm not from Mexico, so I don't understand as much, but it's weird. Anyway, LFI just finish off Fenix with double teams here after they took out Penta, finishing with a hammerlock DDT from Andrade El Idolo to get the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Los Faccion Ingobernable. Really good match here. Like I said, I didn't quite understand what Penta was thinking, if it was a title match, if it was like loser leaves town or something along those lines. I get that they're mad, but the whole thing they were mad about was taking the masks off. And yes, it was all the dirty tactics of tying the mask that made him forced to take off. So you could say LFI took the mask off again, but here's Pentagon taking his own mask off, barely does anything. He's able to break the pin up, but then he just wants to cover his face like this and isn't able to do anything after that. So that's a little weird. But now we get a very, very, very important segment, especially for all you BTE fans. So in the back is the Young Bucks, and they walk into a locker room that has the Dark Order, who's hanging out with Hangman Page. And Silver tells Cutler real quick, stick around for BTE afterward, because John Silver is the BTE champion. I like that little bit of just made it look more real. Anyway, Nick Jackson then tells Hangman, thanks for saving us last week. And then here we go. Here's the emotional stuff here. So Matt Jackson says, and Hangman, I'm sorry. If I could take it all back, I would. My favorite time in my life was when we were running around all over the world and then creating this company. But everything got weird. I got weird. I wish I could take it back. I'm sorry. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. This building is special. This is where you won the world title, Hangman, but I didn't have the courage to man up and tell you congrats on that night. I was so proud of you. I can't get that moment back. Maybe we are just bad people, and maybe we do hold people back. But when we're around you, the good in us comes out. So will you reform the Hung Bucks in the Trios tournament next week? Hangman Adam Page thinks about it for a second and says, I'm sorry. I would love to, but I can't. These guys were there for me. They were my friends too. I feel like this is Dark Order's chance to win the Trios tournament. I want to be in their corner, and I don't want to be on an opposite team. So maybe find a partner that never turned their back on you. And the Young Bucks seem to understand, and they just leave. Meanwhile, Cutler quickly says, I think they were talking about me. Let me be the third man. And the Young Bucks tell Cutler to shut up, of course. So this is an epic moment for the Elite storyline. It now opens up the spot for Kenny Omega to take that spot with the Young Bucks. I'm assuming, and everyone in the world will be assuming, that that's what we get. Will this rejection make the Young Bucks stay heel now with a heel Omega, or will Kenny Omega return without Don Callis and be a good guy alongside the Young Bucks? Some stuff to think about, some epic, interesting stuff on the way there. Really looking forward to it. So, we got a lot of things coming at us now. Now Jungle Boy comes out for commentary, and Jim Ross kind of hits on him. He's like, "Oh, you look great with the headset on." It was kind of awkward, but anyway, Luchasaurus now comes out, and he's going to have a match. Already in the ring is from the Workhorseman, Anthony Henry, who we saw in the main event last night on Dark against Orange Cassidy. In a really, really good competitive match that Orange Cassidy ended up winning. But this one is a big time size disadvantage. Luchasaurus hits a choke slam and wins in about 40 seconds. Thanks for coming, Anthony Henry. Your winner of the match by pinfall, Luchasaurus, in about 40 seconds. Now Christian is on the video board and says to Jungle Boy, I wanted to run out there and slap you, but they don't deserve to see me in person. So then Christian is interrupted when Jungle Boy had already run to the back. They start brawling. Luchasaurus comes over there too. There's officials trying to break this up. One of the coaches, Pat Buck, gets headbutted by Luchasaurus here, and that might put Luchasaurus on suspension. We'll have to wait and see. But that could be a good way to explain or get Luchasaurus out of the story while Christian and Jungle Boy have a little bit of the thing, and then Luchasaurus can return, and we'll find out maybe even at All Out. So I'm thinking Luchasaurus will get suspended from attacking Pat Buck here, maybe get out of the picture until All Out, when Luchasaurus will return during the Christian and Jungle Boy match, and then we'll decide, or then we'll find out at that point if Luchasaurus is going to side with Jungle Boy or Christian. So pretty good stuff there. Not a bad segment at all. It was quick, got a good point across. It was intense, and it's furthered the storyline. Perfect stuff here. So now we've got a really cool thing as well, furthering along a storyline. We see Miro, and he's in the darkness, and he says, Malachi, you've thrown changes, dragged me into the dark. And then Julia Hart walks up. If you remember last week, Miro said that there was a woman whispering into him to join, basically. Julia Hart says, embrace it. And Miro tells Julia, don't touch the Redeemer like that. There's only one woman that can touch me in that way. So are we going to get Lana CJ Perry in this feud at some point? I'm not really a big fan of her, but if we are, maybe that's something for Julia Hart to do. She doesn't really have a storyline to go for, so putting her in the ring with Lana isn't necessarily going to be the worst thing, especially if it's like a mixed tag match, or it could be even a four-way match if Darby Allin and Sting are still involved. But we still have Sting might join House of Black as well. So Miro, I don't think is going to join the House of Black, and here he basically tells Julia Hart to get lost. So I don't think Miro's going to join, but Sting might, and maybe that's what maybe Miro starts taking out the House of Black, and it's Sting from behind, or it could be like we set up an all-out trios match between Sting, Darby Allin, and Miro, where Miro gets turned on by Darby by Sting. So there's a lot of things to look forward to, but don't forget House of Black is in the trios tournament, so they'll be focused on that in the future here. In the back now, we see Powerhouse Hobbs is about to get interviewed after leaving Team Taz and attacking his former partner, Ricky Starks, 2 weeks in a row now. But before Powerhouse Hobbs can say anything, QT Marshall, of all people, interrupts, and he says that we'll take care of Starks tonight because Starks' former partner in the Indies, Aaron Solo, part of the factory, will take on Hobbs tonight. So Hobbs then says, well, don't let your problem become mine, basically threatening the factory and saying, factory, get out of my business. So that was pretty cool. Now we get Jay Lethal's music hitting, and none of them are addressed to wrestle here. It's Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, and Jay Lethal. And Sanjay gets in the ring and says, I'm on a high. Did you guys see Rampage? Satnam Singh chokeslam Wardlow through a table. Now, Wardlow, you might think we're done with you, but not by a long shot. And Jay Lethal then says, so whether you defend the TNT title against me, or basically either defend the TNT title against me one more time, or you're going to keep getting beatings, Jay Lethal says to Wardlow. So now Wardlow comes out, the big cheers from the crowd, and Wardlow just simply says, if you want a shot, you got it. But tonight, I'm kicking all three of your butts. So before Wardlow can get to the ring, FTR now make their return, and the three former Pinnacle members here get to the ring. And man, this is when I was like, I wish there was a 16-team trios team. We could have had like Wardlow and FTR, for example, which could have been a first round match against Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. So I think they could have padded out a 16-team trios tournament and just dedicated one of these episodes of Dynamite to like a bunch of the first round matches. I think that would have been fine. It would have felt like a special event. Like, oh, it's the big trios. Maybe the ratings would go down for 1 week, but who cares? Come on, it's 1 week. And in the meantime, you could have had a cool 16-team trios tournament, gotten a bunch of the matches. That's only 8 first round matches. So it's not like it would have been taken forever. You might have even been able to fit all 8 in a week span, and then just use all the other time to further along other storylines. But you can still further along storylines within the tournament that were already existing. So anyway, it still should be pretty good. We got 8 teams, and Will Ospreay and Aussie Open joining is such a surprise that it's really got me excited. But like I said, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt could have been a team, and there's a bunch of others they could have made. Like the Gun Club trio of Billy, Austin, and Colton. They're like something like 34-0, something like that in trios matches, and they didn't even get invited to the trios tournament. Like that makes no sense. I think they have by far the best trios record in AEW history, and the Gun Club didn't get invited. So it's little things like that where they try to tell us, oh, records matter, and when everybody comes out for a trios match, even in the women's division where there's no trios tournament, division, let alone a freaking tag division. But nope, they tell us every time, oh, they're making their AEW trios debut, or oh, this team of Ruby Soho, Anna Jay, and Sky Blue, they have a 3-1 trios record. But then, like, why do we make the records known and keep track of the records if somebody like a 34-0 trios team can't get invited to the tournament? So it makes absolutely no sense if you think about it, but I guess you're just not supposed to think about it, right? So anyway, this was a pretty cool image. Wardlow and FTR make Sanjay, and they hit Sanjay and Jay like once each here, and then they all run away. Wardlow and FTR now hold up 7 titles at the same time in the ring between them. So in the back now, it's Daddy Magic says he's there with Cool Hand Ange, Garcia, and Anna JAS. So Daddy Magic says history will be made tonight. Moxley, you've been on a roll, but that ends tonight. And then Cool Hand Ange says, we've got a huge party planned with a little bit of the bubbly after this. And Garcia says, Danielson, I owned you. I choked you out. And then Anna JAS freaks out and chokes out another one of the staff members. So maybe Luchasaurus won't get suspended, because now after last week, Anna Jay attacked a staff member. She didn't get any suspension. So that's 2 staff members in a week to get choked out by Anna Jay. And that's also 2 staff members that got knocked out in the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the show. So that's interesting. Not a safe environment back there. So now Aaron Solo comes out, and we see a big highlight package with Ricky Starks also saying some new things here. Ricky says, I had my best friend turn on me, and almost even worse was I was offered a spot in the factory. So that was funny. So now Ricky Starks makes his entrance. The rest of the factory are watching, but not ringside. And this match starts super fast here. These former tag partners, Aaron Solo and Ricky Starks, going at it here in this grudge match. But now all of a sudden, Cole Carter, the newest member of the factory, trips Starks from behind and gets ejected. I didn't even know he was ringside. So after some great moves both ways here, Ricky hits a beautiful looking tornado DDT, but then Solo counters the Rochambeau. Starks counters right back, hitting the spear and getting the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Ricky Starks. Now Nick Camarano runs down to the ring with a chair, but Ricky hits him with the Hobbs spinebuster straight out of the powerhouse Hobbs playbook there. But now here comes the problem of turning down the factory to join, as Ricky Starks gets quickly outnumbered, and this is exactly why Cole Carter joined the factory to begin with. Eventually, Starks is able to get away, and now we look in the back, and Powerhouse Hobbs throws one of the giant big TVs down, destroying it. So pretty good segment there. I mean, it was another short match. We had a few of those tonight, but that's fine. It's just we're kind of setting up for the big pay-per-view and getting everything set up, along with all the other big title matches and stuff we had, as well as those first two matches. So I understand why and stuff. So we can get more on the show. We got a lot to cover. So in the back now, we see the aforementioned trios of the Gun Club, who have the best trios record in AEW, yet didn't get invited to the tournament. Billy Gunn says that you guys have to toughen up, talking to his sons. How in one night can you ruin the only match I ever made famous? Which is a funny line. Now Stokely Hathaway out of nowhere comes in, and he basically is trying to recruit the Gun Club here, but Billy tells him to go away. Then Danhausen walks in and says, him and the bearded fellow will take you on Friday on Rampage. Then we go to commercial. So I thought maybe the bearded one was Trent Beretta, but I have no idea what he was talking about. We do get to find out later, and I'll wait for then. I guess I can say it now, because what I was thinking was Danhausen was hanging out with the best friends, and we know that Chuck and Orange both are clean shaven, so I was thinking Trent Beretta, but nope. Danhausen will be taking his partner to take on the Gun Club is Eric Redbeard, formerly Eric Rowan. So we've seen Eric Redbeard in AEW before at the, I think, Revolution buy-in, have a really good match against Death Triangle. So that'll be interesting. Danhausen and Eric Redbeard versus the Gun Club on Rampage. So Orange Cassidy now is in the back with Tony Schiavone. He's got Chuck and Trent there as well. And Tony Schiavone says, "What did you want to show me, Orange?" It looks like they were about to do like a secret handshake or something, but then the Trust Busters interrupt. If don't forget, this is a first round matchup, Best Friends versus Trust Busters in the Trios tournament. So the Trust Busters leader, Trust Fund Ari Davari, says that he wants to bring Orange to the superstardom and just get rid of these two morons here and join the Trust Busters. Orange says no, so Davari says, "Well, you'll learn firsthand what happens to people who say no to Davari." So these 6 men will be in the Trios tournament first round match. I'm not sure when that match starts, but we find out later on that on Rampage this week, it will be in one-on-one action, Orange Cassidy versus Ari Davari. So a lot of implications in that singles match. And also Orange gets another chance to go back into the top 5 of the singles division before he goes on his trios excursion, with Orange getting a big victory over Anthony Henry last night to improve his record to 4-4 in singles action this year. So one thing I wasn't looking for tonight is Madison Rayne, who comes out next, and she better lose. If Madison wins, we riot. So Jade Cargill comes out next to defend her TBS title and her undefeated streak, which is at 35 wins to 0 losses in her career. Jade Cargill is accompanied by Stokely Hathaway and Kiera Hogan. And if Madison wins, we riot, like I said. They get in each other's face here at the start. Madison hits 2 forearms, but Jade blocks an Irish whip. Then Jade hits a nasty kick to the gut. Madison able to evade a corner charge here by going up the ropes, but Jade hits a hard shot on her shoulder on that one. But Madison hits the attack off the middle rope, and then a Hurricane Rana on the outside. Not too bad for Madison. Still don't want to see her ever again. Kira then distracts Madison just long enough on the outside for Jade to hit a spear here, and Madison now looks super hurt. She's a little bit fragile, and that spear wrecked her. So now we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. Jade hits a nice Beal, then does some push-ups. Madison's so slow to get back up that Jade is able to get back on the attack with another Beal after the push-ups. Madison gets a boot up to stop another corner attack, but Jade just lifts Madison up into a gorilla press, dropping her from behind. That was a great show of strength from Jade Cargill. Madison tries to fight back now with some body punches, but Jade uses her strength advantage here to keep control, sending Madison hard into the corner. Madison's super hurt now. Jade hits a running corner back elbow as we now back from the break. Jade hits a delayed vertical suplex. Madison's just barely able to kick out at 2. Now we see that Layla Gray is in the baddie section along with some other baddies in the front row. And oh no, terrible news alert. It's at this moment we're told that Chris Statlander is now injured again. Wow, man, Chris Statlander was all the way up to number 2 in the rankings, and maybe would have moved up to 1 because Toni Storm got pinned last week. Oh man, Chris Statlander was just about to be number 1 in the rankings. Now has dropped out of this week's top 5 as she is injured again. Chris Statlander cannot catch a break. She was just on the verge of being a breakout star and maybe the person that would beat Jade Cargill to finally win the TBS title and the undefeated streak. So terrible news here for Chris Statlander. Anyway, Madison Rayne is able to take control, applying a guillotine here, but Jade powers out. Madison hits a DDT to counter that attack. Madison almost wins there, but Jade is able to kick out. Kiera is now up on the apron. Madison dodges a pump kick, and Kiera gets hit with it instead. But Jade just simply hits a pump kick on Madison right after that, and then Jade blocks a cross Rayne attempt and hits Jaded for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall and still TBS champion Jade Cargill. Thank goodness. So now one of the baddies members that wasn't Layla Gray jumps the barricade here, taking her hat off to reveal it is Athena, the fallen goddess. So Athena attacks Jade from behind. Then Athena holds the TBS title up high, and Athena has been tearing it up just for a while now, but this week in particular on Elevation and Dark, Athena was hitting some of the hardest kicks I've ever seen, and the hardest shotgun dropkick I've ever seen in my life was hit by Athena on Elevation this week against Queen Aminata, sending the Queen hard into the barricade. If you did not see that, go on social media right now and type in Athena dropkick. It was perfect angle. It came out of nowhere. You could hear the impact. So anyway, Athena, every time she comes out, the crowd absolutely goes ballistic. The crowd's loving Athena right now. So the one thing I could say, it's not necessarily good that Chris Statlander got injured, but I think Athena could really break out on a singles run, and maybe now will be the one to defeat Jade Cargill. It looks like that's the next match, and it'll probably be the all-out TBS title match, which will be 10 times better than the last pay-per-view TBS title match. $100 to whoever remembers who that match was. Yes, it was Anna Jay losing in a pretty terrible match to Jade Cargill at the pay-per-view. Now in the back, Tony. Let me get a quick drink real quick. Sorry. Been a pretty good episode so far. What do you guys think? If you want to ask any questions as well, I can answer them after the show. All right, in the back now with Tony Schiavone is Thunderstorm. So Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm, who's now back to the number 1 contender as Chris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, Tony Storm got knocked out of the number 1 spot by getting pinned by Jamie Hayter. Then Jamie Hayter got the title shot at Battle of the Belts. Jamie Hayter now also is out with a broken nose, and with that loss in the title match also fell out of the top 5. So now Tony Storm's right back up to number 1, even though she was number 1 last week. She was about to fall out of it, but you see what I'm saying. Tony Storm is now says that she's in action next week, and I plan to keep the momentum rolling. Thunder Rosa basically says, well, we'll talk about this title match later on. So are we going to get another rematch of a pay-per-view event where it was at, if you remember, Forbidden Door, it was Thunder Rosa and Tony Storm. But to be fair, that match was awesome, and they've had this whole storyline with them being in the tag team and stuff. So I wouldn't mind seeing that match again at all. So Bryan Danielson, so Bryan Danielson is going to be on Rampage talking. So this is when we get all the big news of what's happening next week, and at Rampage. So Bryan Danielson will be talking. Hook will be talking as well. And this is where we find out it's Eric Redbeard teaming with Danhausen to take on the Gun Club. Big Parker Boudreaux from the Trust Fund takes on Sonny Kiss. Now, we saw Sonny Kiss finally returned last night on Dark and was offered a spot in the Trustbusters last night on Dark. So Sunny Kiss seemed to have not been Sunny Kiss seemed to have wanted to join the Trustbusters, but now has a match against Trustbuster Beast Parker Boudreaux. So we'll see if that's even a match. Maybe just Sunny Kiss ends up joining the Trustbusters instead, which I would like to see. I would like to see Sunny Kiss get some storylines and be in more matches. Sunny Kiss got a little bit of a what do you call it? Great offense last night in a triple threat match, and it was only like maybe a 10 seconds worth of offense, but Sunny Kiss was looking awesome. So I can't wait to see Sunny Kiss on Rampage. Hopefully join the Trustbusters. Either that or Parker Boudreaux's absolutely going to destroy Sunny. So now Orange Cassidy will also take on Ari Davari. So we've got 2 Trustbusters matches on Rampage. And also on Rampage, this is a big announcement. We got a title match. It's a AAA mixed tag team title match. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti, who just got married, defend against hometown hero Dante Martin and his real life girlfriend Sky Blue. So that should be a really good match. I hope that's the main event, since it's a title. It's not an AEW title match, but it deserves to be the main event of Rampage. That's going to be a really good match. Looking forward to that one, and I'm glad that we can have AAA title matches on Impact, Rampage, and Dynamite. So like I said, Ty and Sammy just got married over the last week, so we'll see if they're even ready to defend these titles. They might have their minds on other things after the honeymoon and stuff. So next week on Dynamite, also we'll see the Los Faccion Ingorbernables take on Young Bucks as and a mystery partner, which we're all assuming at this point is going to be Kenny Omega returning. Also, Toni Storm, we find out who she's taking on, and it's the returning Kylan King, who we used to see on Dark and Elevation all the time. Meanwhile, Kylan King has been tearing it up in the NWA women's division, almost beating Camille for the NWA women's championship. But now Kylan King will make her return and take on Toni Storm next week on Dynamite. I'm looking forward to that. Kylan King has a lot of size to her and is even more improved than you guys last saw her on Elevation and Ramp and Dark. So also next week, weirdly, in my opinion, it'll be 2 out of 3 falls. Bryan Danielson versus Daniel Garcia. I don't know if I even really want to watch this match after Garcia just got his big win. If Danielson wins, then it just kind of seems like good old WWE 50-50 booking. I think if you wanted to run Danielson and Garcia back, you could do it for a title or something down the line. Having Danielson fight back-to-back matches against Garcia, in my opinion, is a bad move. I'm not even really looking forward to that match because I just watched that match. And sure, it'll probably be better than the other one. And sure, it's 2 out of 3 falls. And sure, maybe Danielson should have never lost in the first place and he'll get his win back. But then it's just like, why did you give Garcia the win in the first place? So I'm not a big fan of that match, but I'm sure it'll be great technical wrestling, which is my favorite style to watch. So it is what it is. But after the break, it is time for the main event, and there's still a half hour left in the show. So this should be epic, and it does leave time if they wanted to have a wink return after the match, like we all were thinking. Since otherwise, why wouldn't you just have Jericho versus Moxley in the main event of All Out? Why would it be here instead? So that's why a lot of people were excited for this one, as well as they knew it was going to be a good match, as well as Chris Jericho said he's coming out as the Lion Tamer. The Lionheart. So who's going to win the title here? It could be Jericho with some cheating. You never know. Maybe CM Punk's not ready to return. It could be a rematch with Jericho defending against Moxley at All Out. We don't know what's going to happen. Is someone going to return? It could be Kenny Omega instead of CM Punk. We don't even know. So this should be wild here. And holy crap, Jericho comes out with full Lion gear, entrance stuff with a rip off of the Enter Sandman music that he used to use. So we've got full 1995 Chris Jericho coming out now, clean shaven, looking great. Jericho, this is the Jericho we saw in like New Japan Best of the Super Juniors tournament and stuff like that. So Jericho's looking great, like I said, especially in his old black and yellow colors. And Excalibur tells us that even though there's still 30 minutes left of Dynamite, this match will be a 60-minute time limit, and they will stay with the match as long as it takes. Uh, I don't know if they would have been able to go for a whole half hour after, but Excalibur tells us they would have if they had to. So Wild Thing now plays as the interim AEW World Champion. Jon Moxley comes out through the crowd, and Moxley ended Jericho's title reign, and now Jericho finally gets his rematch tonight after about 2 years. So this definitely has a big fight feel to it, which should be great. Of course, William Regal also on commentary, which always hypes and makes a great match turn into an awesome match, or a good match into a great one. So Regal is on commentary. The crowd goes absolutely wild when the bell rings for this big interim title match for the main event of Quake by the Lake. So both men now stare each other down. Jericho gives Moxley the middle finger. Moxley flips him right back, and then they tie up. Jericho immediately hits a nice Mexican arm drag, showing off his lucha libre skills he picked up in Mexico in the 90s. Jericho now hits another arm drag right after that. The crowd's cheering and booing, so they're liking what they see out of the Lionheart so far. This is a Jericho the crowd can get behind. So they're a little bit split here, and the crowd has dueling chants at the beginning. Moxley now wants to grapple still, and he gets a nice go behind, but Jericho gets out of it. They trade shoulder tackles now, and Moxley slaps Jericho hard. Jericho counters a paradigm shift after that into Moxley blocks either a lion tamer or walls. We don't get to find out what it was going to be. So that was pretty cool right there. Good flurry in the beginning. Like the match so far. It goes back to grappling now, with Jericho getting a takedown and applying a hold on the arm and the leg of Moxley. Moxley's able to get out of this, hit a big chop. Jericho answers with some chops of his own. Moxley now gets another takedown and kicks Jericho stiff in the back. But Jericho does the same snap mirror takedown and stiff kick to the back of Moxley. So holy crap. Then Jericho rips the earring out of the earlobe of Jon Moxley, and Regal says, well, I would have done the same thing, and Moxley probably would have too. So that was pretty good. Anyway, the crowd chants, "You sick F," and Jericho then knocks Moxley out of the ring with a drop kick as we go to a picture-in-picture ad break. And I'm not quite sure how or why, but Moxley is now bleeding all over the place. Moxley has a full crimson mask and holding his ear. So is that blood supposed to be from the earlobe and the earring being ripped out? I'm thinking there's no way it could have had that much blood. But later on, Regal says that, oh, yeah, earlobes bleed a bunch. So I don't know if he was kayfabing me or what, but I'll believe Regal anyway. Why not? Anyway, back in the ring now, Jericho is dominating here on the picture-in-picture ad break, hitting a backdrop suplex that has Moxley in big trouble already with his title on the line, and he's got a crimson mask with the blood coming out at a quick rate here. We now come back from ad break as the crowd's mostly booing now, so Jericho did a nice job to get them to boo him once they got past the original shock of seeing the Lionheart in return after so many years. So really cool stuff. I like what we've been seeing so far. Moxley now hits a lariat to buy himself some time to recover as the crowd's cheering that big time. And this is where Regal tells us earlobes bleed a lot, so I believe him, whatever, even if he is kayfabing me. Jericho now hits an under hook backbreaker, which is Emi Sakura's finisher. Jericho goes right into the lion, tries to go for the excuse me, Jericho hits a lion salt right after that, but Moxley's able to apply a Juji Katami, and Jericho's rolling around, just able to avoid his bicep being torn off. So Jericho now applies a hold himself, stretching Moxley's arms. Jericho said he would stretch the hell out of Moxley, and he did during this match. Moxley gets out, applies an ankle lock, but Jericho gets out of that, and Moxley hits a German suplex. Jericho, just like a monster out of a movie, leaps right up, hits a German suplex after ducking under a lariat. Great flurry there. Jericho now sets Moxley up on the top rope, follows him up there, and the Lionheart hits a top rope Hurricane Rana here. Great stuff. This is the Jericho I used to watch on WCW in the Cruiserweight division for sure. I missed out on all his Japan and Mexican stuff. I mean, I was only about 10 years old, but I was definitely loving everything I ever saw out of Jericho in WCW. Really good stuff. So now Moxley's losing a lot of blood and is in a big trouble here after that top rope Hurricane Rana that he just barely able to kick out. But Moxley's in big trouble and losing a lot of blood, more by the minute here. So Jericho applies a Bret Hart figure 4 around the ring post, and Jericho has to break the count before the referee's 5 count, but the damage was done there. Moxley has a bad leg. Back in the ring, though, Moxley's able to apply a Fujiwara armbar, then transitions it into a crossface. Jericho can't even see to get to the ropes and is caught in the hold for a little while here, but Jericho escapes and applies the walls of Jericho now. So it's not the Lion Tamer, the super finisher of Jericho, just the walls of Jericho. Moxley is almost out cold in the middle of the ring as we go to a picture-picture ad break. So that's a weird spot to go on. Moxley is near defeat in the middle of the ring, stuck in the walls of Jericho as the commercials play on the same screen on the other side. Moxley's losing a ton of blood here, but eventually, after a long time caught, is able to flip on his back, and Jericho kicks Moxley in the head and then applies the walls of Jericho again. So now we can see the crowd's going wild for Moxley to get out. We can just see, we can't hear him because we're still in the picture and ad break, but they are cheering loudly for Moxley to keep fighting. Moxley tries his best, but is on the verge of passing out here. The referee checks on Mox, but there's still signs of life. Meanwhile, Moxley's been getting stretched with this same hold the entire ad break. Now we come back. Moxley finally gets out and gets to the ropes to break the hold. Moxley will be severely damaged for the rest of the match after being caught in the walls for about 2.5 minutes straight. Now it's also lost a good amount of blood and is weakened from that as well. Moxley evades an attack, then dives off the top rope to the outside with a double hammer blow, something we don't see Moxley do very awesome. Very awesome. The crowd chants, "This is awesome." We don't see Moxley do that very often. That was weird. Anyway, Moxley now goes back to the top rope, and Jericho counters this dive with a code breaker in midair. Moxley's just barely able to kick out on that. We almost had a new interim champion. Jericho was a little bit slow to get on the cover, so that might have been the only thing to save Moxley's title there. Now, it seems that top rope sledge that Jericho got hit with from the top to the outside might have re-broken the nose of Jericho here, only broken 3 weeks ago by Eddie Kingston. Someone in the crowd now throws Floyd the bat, and we see it was Sammy Guevara, but Sammy throws the bat way too freaking far. It flies out of the other side of the ring. Before that happened, Jericho undid some of the turnbuckle pads, and the referee was checking on, like, trying to get those out of the ring or put him back on or something, but it took so long to go outside, get the get the bat, and then hit Moxley with the bat that the referee basically saw it and just had to act like they didn't. Really botched there. Almost took me out of the match, but I'm not going to let it ruin this great main event. So Jericho now has Judas effect, and somehow Moxley has the fire and heart inside of his the kick out, but he probably wasn't going to be able to kick out at anything big that major again. That was his one and only time. So Moxley basically only kicked out an instinct. Jericho now tries to hit Moxley with the title for some reason. I have no idea why. Jericho seemed to be in control, and the referee was right there to look at it this time. The referee, if Moxley didn't duck under the title shot, the match would have been over. So Jericho's now able to counter into a lion tamer here, and now Moxley goes right into desperation mode after already being in the walls for over 2 minutes, having lost a lot of blood and taken a lot of other big shots, including a Floyd the Bat shot and a Judas effect. So Moxley goes into desperation mode and gets out somehow. He avoids the lion tamer for too long. Moxley now hits hammer and anvil elbow strikes, and Moxley applies a sleeper hold on the mat with his legs grapevine on the body. Jericho can't move. Jericho's too weak to force or strike out, and Jericho is forced to tap out or risk big injury. The winner of this match, and still AEW Interim World Champion Jon Moxley. Really good match here. A couple things I didn't quite like. It made Jon Moxley look a little bit too much like Superman. I could take it though. Moxley's been on a roll, and that's what comes when you're on a roll. You feel undefeatable. Anyway, Jericho. It didn't, the Sammy Guevara bat spot, it didn't ruin the match. I mean, yeah, the referee looked like a doofus. What was weird though is the Jericho title shot. Was Jericho just so mad that he wanted to get himself disqualified, and he didn't care if he got disqualified? So that made Jericho look like an idiot, in my opinion. Why would you want a title match after 2 years and then risk disqualification with a title shot when Moxley's super hurt? You had him in the walls for 2.5 minutes. He's lost a lot of blood, and that part didn't make sense. So it was a little overbooked in the end. I didn't quite like the ending of this match, but the rest of the match was so good, including all the great technical wrestling spots, which is my favorite. So awesome stuff, really good. And there is 5 minutes left in the show as the match ends. So who's coming out first? We get a lot of people coming out, actually. Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara run out first. They attack Jon Moxley. Now Claudio, Kingston, and Wheeler Yuta even the odds here. 2.0 and Garcia run out, and CM Punk is going to return, or anyone else here. But now Jericho has the world title, about to hit Moxley. But yes, here he is. Wow. CM Punk making his return after months, crushing Garcia on his way to the ring. Then Cool Hand Ange, then taking out Guevara, then taking out Jake Hager and Jericho as well. CM Punk takes everyone out. Super Punk. So the crowd's going wild now. So is CM Punk, who looks great, by the way. And holy crap, please tell me that CM Punk's ready for All Out. The AEW World Champion has returned to save the interim AEW World Champion. Wow. So Moxley's a little bit dazed, but he's also realized that CM Punk has returned. It's just the two of them in the ring now. CM Punk's waiting for Moxley to turn around. Moxley composes himself. He knows CM Punk's in the ring. He turns around and they have an intense stare down here. CM Punk is not, I repeat, not holding his title, but Moxley holds up his interim title here and gives CM Punk the middle finger right in the face, bumps shoulders with him as Moxley leaves. Claudio greets Moxley with a big celebratory hug and handshake, and then they leave. And here's our answer. Without saying a word, CM Punk dances around, jumps on his surgically repaired foot, and without saying a word, CM Punk just told us that the main event of All Out in Chicago, CM Punk's hometown, champion versus champion, AEW World Title Unification match at All Out, main event, Chicago, Jon Moxley versus CM Punk. Wow, great stuff here. Probably also a good idea to not have Punk and Omega return on the same night. If you have them return on back-to-back nights, then if you look back in 10 years, you could be like, oh, look at what happened in back-to-back nights. But it kind of takes away from each other if they're on the same night, if you know what I'm saying. I do think Omega will return next week because Hangman said he's not going to join the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks aren't going to settle for Brandon Cutler. That's not going to happen. They might have to, and then Omega comes out of nowhere to save them from the don't forget 0-50 Baron Black defeated Brandon Cutler to get his first win a couple of weeks ago. So you do not want Baron Black. He just lost to a guy. I mean, you do not want Brandon Cutler. He just lost to a guy that was 0-50 in AEW. So I think it might be like something like that. Omega's definitely returning next week to be in the trios tournament. Really, really excited for that match. Looking forward to the trios tournament in general. It's going to be awesome. We're also going to see if Omega returns as a heel. Is Don Callis going to be there? Is no Don Callis? Is Omega going to be a nice guy? Is he going to be a nice guy, then turn on the Young Bucks or something, and then be an evil guy again? Is the four-man, the Elite squad going to return with Hangman and the Hung Bucks and Omega? So there's a lot of questions. We don't know what's going to happen. It seems really, really cool, though. I love it. So Hangman decided to stay with the Dark Order for the Trios tournament for now, as we saw on BTE. So Hangman really wants Dark Order to win those Trios title, and that whole story is going to be great as well. So we started the night tonight with two specialty matches. The Coffin match was fun and wild, and then the Lucha match was fun and wild as well. We had a giant talking segment after that with a bunch of like 6 or 7 different storylines all being told without feeling too rushed. Pretty good stuff there. The women's match was what it was. We were never getting a good match out of Madison Rayne. It wasn't god awful though, and it's very, very unfortunate that Chris Statlander's injured, but maybe this is Athena's time. Also, Tony Storm and Thunder Rosa basically teased that might be our match at All Out. So much more also happened, including Will Ospreay, of all people, is in the Trios tournament with Aussie Open. United Empire is represented in the Trios tournament. Ospreay will be with G1 until August 18th and will be able to compete in the last first round match, I'm guessing. So really great stuff tonight. Rampage also is shaping up to be a great show. You can come check out. I've got every night of G1 reviewed if you want to check in on Will Ospreay, what he's been doing. I've also been doing backstage comments for each show as well, so you can know the stories going on. If you just want to listen to the backstage comments, you get a little bit of the story and the results. So check those out. Give me a subscribe and a thumbs up. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to get going for now and enjoy your guys' week. I'm really pumped up for this match. And this Dynamite was great. Really pumped up for Rampage as well. Hometown hero Dante Martin getting a mixed tag team title match. 2 real life couples taking on each other for the AAA mixed tag team titles. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in. Have your good night, and I'll talk to you again soon. Peace.